Hi, John.
Hi, Jonathan.
How are you going?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, John.
Okay.
Earlier you were telling me that you were raised as a Christian and you were in a Christian family, and I know that you're not native to America. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your family background?
I was actually born and raised in the Philippines, although both sides of my family are Chinese. And I've had a colorful religious background, shall we say. I attended an Episcopalian elementary school, and that was followed by a gospel elementary school. And these churches in the Philippines were pretty conservative. We usually don't talk about sex much at all, and we were pretty isolated even from the rest of the Catholic community.
Okay. So, John, you don't have a Philippines accent. Did you spend all of your childhood in the Philippines?
Like, oh my gosh, like no.
No.
No, when I was 12 years old, my immediate family migrated to California. And so I probably picked up on the California accent somewhere along the line.
That would be why.
And upon coming to the U.S., I've also had a very interesting church background. My parents started attending a Chinese Mennonite church, which is loosely affiliated with the Amish in the East Coast, specifically the Pennsylvania area, where they have a more traditional way of doing things. The Chinese Mennonites were more progressive. And so I was baptized in that church when I was 14. But when I went off to college, first to Santa Cruz and then to Santa Barbara, I attended a couple of conservative churches. I don't know if you have Calvary chapels here in Australia or not.
We're aware of them.
But yes, so I attended Calvary Chapel for about 4 years until I found a United Methodist Church in Santa Barbara.
Sure.
And that's when I would say I've had my conversion experience.
So the Mennonite and the Calvary churches must have been, like you said, very conservative. And I take it you're not now. How did that change happen? And tell us a little bit about how coming out as a gay man would have affected your spirituality.
Right. Well, I came out to myself when I was about 16, and I came out to my close friends and my older sister before I came out to the whole world. And it was quite a struggle, actually, trying to reconcile my spirituality with my sexuality. And I spent countless hours just putting my fists up at God and saying, why me? Until I finally found a church in Santa Barbara, a United Methodist church. And two of the other women there were lesbians. Actually, this is in the United Methodist student movement.
Okay.
And they're now becoming ordained, one with the United Church of Christ, which is the equivalent of a Congregationalist church. And one is still fighting within the United Methodist Church because they don't ordain openly gay, lesbians, bisexuals, and transgendered people there in the denomination. But while we were in the group, we read a book by Marjorie Suhaki. The name of the book doesn't actually, I can't remember it right now, but it's basically about feminist theology. And I was extremely empowered after reading that book. It just spoke volumes about how oppressed people can find their own spirituality, and that traditional Christianity, which is made up of the binary world inherited since the time of Greek philosophy, doesn't always speak to the needs of, say, people from an Asian perspective, or for gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgendered, or even women.
How did how did that affect your homosexuality and affect your coming out process reading Marjorie's book?
It made me realize that salvation really isn't under my control, where every time I mess up, I lose it. It made me more secure in my faith, knowing God loves me no matter what. And I feel that in many ways, that's the same gospel that MCC preaches around the world.
So let's talk about your involvement with MCC, because you were in the United Methodist Church.
Correct.
When you had that conversion experience. What
Right.
led to your involvement with MCC?
Well, when I moved back to LA after graduating from UC Santa Barbara, I went church shopping, as we say, and I did check out a few United Methodist churches in the area, but they were too liturgical and high church for my taste. And so a friend of mine invited me to come to MCC. Now, I had always heard about MCC, but much in a similar manner that I didn't want to attend a mono-ethnic church, meaning a church that's all Chinese American, I resisted attending a monosexual church.
Sure.
And
Yep.
so I thought. And so upon visiting the church with my friend, I was really impressed with the amount of diversity that the church has to offer, culturally, theologically, and even sexuality-wise. And so that's how I got involved with MCC. And it took some time for me to become a member, actually. It took about 3 years before I became a member because I always wanted to be a free spirit Christian.
Okay.
I've never officially joined the United Methodist Church.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's my involvement at the time.
At the time, now, because you're now the director of the tribe and everything else, how did that happen? How did you get your youth ministry going and, start on your process towards becoming a minister?
Well, that's actually quite an interesting process in and of itself. I'm sure, like many people, I've just wandered into ministry at MCC without any prior experience or background. But which is, I think, one of our greatest strengths is that we empower people to cultivate their gifts at whatever level they're at. And I remember the time when I met with Nancy Wilson, Reverend Elder Nancy Wilson, in her office, and she just said to me, "Would you be interested in heading up a young adults group?" And I looked at I looked around and I said, "What young adults? There's maybe 2 of us here, and the rest are over 40."
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just wasn't as diverse age-wise within the church. And pretty soon, we were getting a steady stream of young people coming in through our Bible study classes and whatnot. So from that, we were able to build a group, which today has a strong 10 to 15 people every Friday. We meet every Friday night, and the age ranges from 18 to 30, early 30s.